Hey, welcome back. Today we're continuing our look at each and every X-Files episode with the episode Soft Light, episode 23 of season 2. Debuting on May 5th, 1995 on the Fox network, Soft Light has our agents track down a rogue scientist who may be responsible for some mysterious disappearances. The episode begins and I already have to pause things, and no, I did not alter this footage, but these people are entering the building backwards. Some man is getting ready to end the night when Antonio Scarpacci from Wings gets off the elevator. Dr. Chester Banton wants to speak to a man, a colleague of his named Morris, because it looks like someone may have died and he may be responsible.
Oh no.
Now you would think that the weird part would be disappearing into a shadow, but what I want to know is how the hell did the shadow get under the door? That's breaking all kinds of physics. Mulder and Scully are brought on the scene to help with one of Scully's former students at the academy, a Detective Ryan, who's hoping they can keep things hush-hush because she doesn't want anyone knowing the FBI are involved. It's nice to see Detective Ryan has really cleaned up her act after being a gender-swapping killer alien in season 1. The missing man is a bigwig with Morley Tobacco, the same cigarette company cigarette smoking man enjoys.
Agent Scully, what are you looking at?
The heat register.
You don't think anyone could have squeezed in there?
You never know.
Alright, mystery solved. Toombs is back. The only bit of evidence they've been able to find is a strange burn mark in the carpet, and even weirder is that it looks like a human hand. Mulder suspects the man was looking out his door at something when he disappeared and notices a light bulb on the fritz, so he tells Ryan to get it dusted for fingerprints.
Can I ask what you think may have happened?
At first blush, spontaneous human combustion.
For some reason, Scully thinks Mulder is just joking, but she should know by now that he doesn't joke around when it comes to spontaneous human combustion. They make their way to a previous crime scene where someone else just up and vanished. There they find another loose light bulb and another burn mark in the floor. The missing person also worked for a tobacco company, and I'm starting to think that there may be a connection.
M. Wise Necky round trip to Hampton Roads, Virginia. Return train dated March 17.
Mulder finds a baggage check tag in the garbage, and the previous victims all seem to have recently come off the train prior to their deaths, so Mulder thinks someone may be targeting people at the train station. Meanwhile, Chester is at the train station, looking like he hasn't slept in ages, when he decides to take a little walk in an alleyway before being stopped by police for looking vaguely foreign. Chester stays in the dark away from the cops because he knows what will happen, but these two are adamant that he come out and get down on the ground.
Please, you don't understand. No!
This dumbass just witnessed his friend get sucked into his shadow, barely reacts to what just happened, and decides, you know what, I should also get closer to him. The following morning, Mulder and Scully arrive on the scene, and it looks like Detective Ryan may be responsible for what happened. She sent the officers out to look for anyone acting suspicious, and now they're dead, or in some kind of hell dimension, who knows. The fingerprints they took off the light bulbs came up with no matches, so they're back to square one, although Mulder was right that the man would be in the area.
All right, where does this leave us?
Maybe with enough to identify the killer.
How?
Look, he was here last night, which means he was also here on March 17th and March 31st.
Hang on a minute.
Jesus, that leaves us with 3 hours, 3 days of train station videotape to cross-reference and hopefully find out who this motherfucker is.
That's assuming that we're looking for a mother.
The agents head to the train station and look back on 3 days of security camera footage for anyone that may stick out. They find Chester acting a little weird, so they zoom in on him and find his jacket says polarity magnetic, which is where the original victim worked. I do love their magic camera zoom that can somehow add more pixels to the picture, because when I zoom in, it looks like this.
Yes?
We're Agents Mulder and Scully with the FBI.
They arrive at Polarity Magnetic and speak to a Dr. Christopher Davey, who, when he isn't working on his little science projects, spends his free time openly mocking the X-Files.
I know you're assigned to another area, Scully, but if you don't mind some overtime, you're welcome to come aboard with us on this. That is, if you don't mind working in an area that's a bit more down to earth.
Well, it turns out Chester was in some kind of an accident involving a particle accelerator. Dr. Davey then makes the claim that it takes a couple billion megawatts to power this thing, Meanwhile, a quick search shows the city of New York requires roughly 5,500 megawatts to power the entire city, and CERN, which houses the Large Hadron Collider, uses 200 megawatts. So either this thing has the capability of creating a sun, or he's just full of shit. Chester was working with the particle accelerator when he made somewhat of a miscalculation and got himself locked inside. The particles tore through him and burned his shadow into the wall like the bombs that fell on Hiroshima.
Maybe what we're dealing with is some kind of spontaneous human combustion.
I'm less convinced of that now.
What do you think it is?
I don't know.
The agents make their way back to the train station, waiting for Chester to return, when Mulder notices the lighting doesn't cast much of a shadow and begins to theorize if that's what Chester was looking at in the security footage.
Dr. Banton.
They chase down and confront Chester, who tells them to stay away, that they're making a big mistake. Mulder realizes it's the shadow and quickly shoots out the lights before Scully can step in it. Chester is placed in a psychiatric hospital where he tells the doctors to keep the lights on, soft light specifically.
It's like a black hole. It splits molecules into component atoms. It unzips electrons from their orbits, reduces matter.
$2, and it only transports matter.
So after Chester's little accident, his shadow has turned into basically a black hole, capable of destroying all matter that enters it. Well, all matter that's just people and their clothes and whatever they may have on them, not the ground or doors or anything else. This black hole is rather exclusive with what kind of matter it decides to consume. Chester needs the agent's help because he believes the government is coming for him, and if he dies, there's no telling what can happen.
I'm gonna have to ask you to discontinue your interrogation of the suspect.
Well, this little "see you next Tuesday" suddenly has an attitude because her superior wants to know why the FBI are involved, and she acts like she has no idea who these people are. Scully plays along, unwillingly, but Mulder knows these two don't know what they're dealing with, and trying to put Chester in jail is only going to lead to more victims.
Putting Detective Ryan's ambition ahead of all good sense in this case.
Ambition? She's a woman trying to survive the boys' club, Mulder.
Wrong, Scully. She's using both of you to try and further a career that was going nowhere, just like your buddy Colton did and Mulder's buddy Jerry did. The two agents bicker because Scully wants to defend her friend, and Mulder knows this is all going to lead to tragedy. Mulder waits at the train station when X arrives, and I wonder if the shadow coming from this clock was intended to look like an X.
I'm not at your beck and call, Agent Mulder. I have nothing to gain and everything to lose by helping you.
So X proves to be of no help, as he apparently knows nothing about Chester and doesn't appreciate Mulder wasting his time.
We're here to transfer Chester Ray Banton.
I have orders he's not being transferred until tomorrow.
Due to the power outage, there's been a change of plans.
What's that? X lied? Well, that seems uncharacteristic of him. He always seemed like someone you could count on. X and his men go in to get Chester when the emergency lights turn on and take X's men with it. X smartly doesn't get anywhere near Chester after seeing what just happened to his cronies. When Mulder arrives at the scene the next morning, Little Miss Attitude walks by in a huff because she's in hot water over Chester's disappearance. Mulder, knowing Chester wants nothing more than to just control whatever is happening to him, thinks he may be headed back to Polarity Magnetic.
Talk to me. We found the dark matter, Chris. It's real. We found it.
What are you talking
about?
about?
Don't you understand? I'm it.
Before Chester can get to the machine, he's stopped by Detective Ryan, who tells him he's under arrest. She's absolutely desperate in saving her career, but Chester has other things that he needs to do.
No, Chris. Tell me you're not working for them.
Wish I could, Chester.
You son of a bitch!
Davey, proving once again what an ass he is, locks Chester in the particle accelerator because he's been working for the government this whole time.
I've got it. He's not going anywhere until you pick him up.
Well, that didn't last very long, but this is why you don't get involved with the shady-ass government. Mulder and Scully arrive and spot Detective Ryan's burn mark. I wonder if Scully realizes she's looking at what's left of her friend. The accelerator suddenly gets powered up, and the agents run to try and stop whatever may happen. Even though he disappears, if you go frame by frame, you can see the two separate shadows. The one shadow actually being given off from the light, and the fake one made up by the art department. Scully, thinking the ash pile they found was Davy, she assumes Chester killed him, then took his own life inside the chamber, which would be impossible. So Mulder sets up a meeting with X because he believes that he may have something to do with it.
About Chester Ray Banton. You knew who he was, and you used me to lead you to him.
You were the one who contacted me, Agent Mulder.
Mulder has had all about he can take of X and tells him that they're finished. But before X can leave, he tells Mulder that he didn't kill Chester. Scully attends the service for Detective Ryan's death, but how do they know she even died? She was nothing more than a burn mark on the ground. You'd think they'd be setting up an investigation to search for her and not just automatically assume that she's dead.
A missing person report was filed this morning by Dr. Morris West. The missing person was Dr. Christopher Davy. He hasn't been seen or heard from since Banton disappeared.
Mulder thinks the body in the accelerator was actually Davy and that Chester may actually still be somewhere out there. And well, he's right, because X and his men have him and will be experimenting on him for years to come. Soft Light is a decent episode. I enjoy it, but the entire black hole shadow thing doesn't really exactly make sense when you think about how it would really work. First off, his own body casts shadows on itself at all times, so should it not have just claimed him as its one and only victim? Second, if this truly was a black hole that just sucks in all matter and breaks everything down at a subatomic level, why doesn't it break down the ground, the doors, pretty much everything? Everything is made of matter, so the moment this dark matter gave him this curse, he should have just immediately swallowed the planet, no? I think you need to turn off your brain a bit when it comes to the logistics of it all, and just go with it just affecting people for some reason. And if that was the route they wanted to go, then the Shadow should have left their clothes behind. Maybe give it Terminator rules where it can only take something living? I think no matter what you do, there's still going to be issues with the idea. Soft Light sits at a 7.8 on IMDb, and I myself would go with a 7 as well. The episode garnered 8.1 million viewers at home, and most critics had mixed to positive reactions. Soft Light was written by Vince Gilligan, his first credit on the show, and what really gave him his big break. He got kinda lucky though when he found out his agent was actually a relative of Chris Carter. He was such a big fan of the show, and because of this connection, he was able to get a meeting with Chris. During the meeting, Chris kept asking Vince if he had any ideas, and he did. He had an idea about a shadow that would kill and move on its own as if an entirely separate entity. Chris liked the idea and hired Vince on in a freelance role to write out the story. Originally, Chester's shadow was to move on its own, not too dissimilar from Dracula's shadow in Bram Stoker's Dracula. However, Chris and Howard Gordon removed this element from the script because it would have been simply too costly to animate. Chris also wanted Chester's fear of the government to be a reality and rewrote part of the script by adding some scenes in with X. Executive producer Frank Spotnitz said it had been a long time since X had done anything and the character really needed to grow. Since Vince was such a big fan of the show, he inserted a little reference to tombs in one of the earlier scenes when the agents are speaking with Detective Ryan. Also, because he was such a big fan, he flew to Vancouver and recorded the filming of the episode with his camera. Shooting for the train station took place at the Pacific Central Train Station and the Pacific Marine Training Institute in Vancouver. They were only allowed to shoot at the Pacific Marine Training Institute after 5 p.m., but after the producers greased the wheels a bit, the dean allowed them to begin shooting at 2 p.m. Kate Twa played the role of Detective Kelly Ryan. This is her second and last appearance in the show, with her first being the female half of the gender-bending alien in Genderbender. She's a Canadian-born actress and got her start acting at the age of 17 in a theater production of Great Expectations. She had small roles throughout her career and is currently the artistic director at the Tempest Theatre and Film Society in BC. Kevin McNulty played the role of Dr. Christopher Davy. This is his second appearance in the show, with his first being Agent Brian Fuller. He will appear for a third time in Season 3, back as Agent Fuller, and then once again on the Lone Gunman series as a completely different character. He's best known for appearing in films like Time Cop, Ernest Goes to School, and Snakes on a Plane. Tony Shalhoub played the role of Dr. Chester Ray Banton. At the time, he had a recurring role on the NBC sitcom Wings. When he was brought aboard, he had actually never heard of the X-Files because he doesn't watch much TV, which is kind of funny considering the work he's in. When he read the script, however, he was excited because it reminded him of something like The Twilight Zone. When Tony told people he knew that he would be on the X-Files, they nearly flipped their wigs, and he said the response was unbelievable. He was also impressed with their location shooting because on Wings, everything was done on a soundstage, so it wasn't something he was really used to. Tony has had quite the career appearing in tons of movies and television, like his work on Wings, the Men in Black films, 13 Ghosts, Cars, and maybe his most famous role, that of Adrian Monk in the hit show Monk. Soft Light is a decent episode. It has an interesting premise with a character you kind of feel sorry for. I think it's definitely worth a watch. Next up for our agents, they head to Dudley, Arkansas, where employees at the local Chaco Chicken start displaying some odd behavior in the episode Our Town. While I hope you enjoyed today's video, let me know what you think of the episode Soft Light. I always love reading what you have to say. I hope you're having a great day and stay spooky.
Friday, a deadly force is preying on innocent victims.
Human body is reduced to ash without any attendant burning or melting.
It strikes without warning.
No one's supposed to go in there!
And nothing in this world can stop it.
It'll kill you. It doesn't care who you are.
A brand new X-Files, Friday at 9, 8 Central.